He didn't just walk away from his marriage. He left his wife weak, stitches still raw, dizzy from blood loss after a difficult labor on the cold porch of their Austin home with 2 premature babies in her arms. And he said it with no hesitation, no fear, no heart. "You're on your own. Clara and I are leaving." Those were the cruel words Marcus Hale spat before locking the door behind him, leaving Elena and the twins in the pouring Texas rain. Instead of holding her after a delivery that almost went wrong, he handed her to the darkness. Instead of choosing family, he chose betrayal. And he thought she would remain broken, forgotten, and powerless. He believed she had nothing. He believed she had nowhere to go. He believed abandoning her would erase every trace of his mistake. But what he never knew was that the woman he cast aside carried a secret waiting to explode, a truth already written in her name, a power sleeping inside a sealed legal envelope sitting on the kitchen table just a few feet from the door he slammed on her. He never knew she had already inherited an empire, a $2 billion legacy her aunt built with sweat and brilliance. Power, justice, a future he had thrown away with his own hands. He had no idea who had been searching for her that night in the storm. He had no idea what would happen once the world saw the recording. Dear viewers, thank you for being here. If you watch without subscribing, it's like letting Elena's voice fade back into the rain. When you hit that button, you stand with every abandoned mother, every silent survivor, and every heart that chose to rise again. Please subscribe and tell me where you're watching from in the comments. Elena Hale, 30 years old and 8 months pregnant with twins, froze when the pounding hit her front door in suburban Austin, Texas. It wasn't a gentle knock. It sounded urgent. It sounded like trouble. She steadied herself against the hallway wall. Her back ached. Her feet were swollen. She whispered to her unborn babies, "Stay calm. Mommy's coming." The pounding came again. Instant tension. Elena opened the door and found a man in a dark blue USPS jacket. Mid-40 seconds, tired eyes, holding a thick certified envelope. "Delivery for Mrs. Elena Hale," he said. She signed shakily. He handed her the envelope and hurried back to his truck, leaving her alone with something that felt heavier than paper. She closed the door and looked down. Estate transfer documents, Hale and Whitman Law Group, urgent. Those words punched the air out of her chest. That was the first warning, one she didn't want to face. Elena stared at the envelope, heart thudding under her ribs. Her mind raced backward to the woman who had raised her when no one else cared. Her aunt, Margaret Hale, founder of Hale Industries, a quiet multimillionaire who turned engineering patents and real estate into a massive private company. Flashback 20 years earlier, Dallas, Texas. Aunt Margaret sat on the edge of a twin bed, brushing little Elena's hair in a soft sunlit room. "Someday all of this will make sense," Margaret whispered. "You'll have decisions to make, big ones." At 10 years old, Elena didn't understand. She only remembered the warmth, the safety, the promise that she wasn't alone. Back to the present. Aunt Margaret had passed away exactly 2 weeks ago. The funeral in Dallas, the drive back to Austin, the pregnancy aches, it was all too much. Elena still wore the simple black dress in her mind. Her phone buzzed on the counter, unknown number from Dallas. She let it go to voicemail. "I can't do one more call about paperwork," she muttered. She placed the certified envelope gently on the kitchen table beside a small pile of unpaid bills and unopened mail. "I can't handle legal stuff today," she whispered. Her voice cracked. That was her second warning the moment she ignored the thing that could have saved her sooner. She didn't know Hale and Whitman already held the originals. This was just her copy, her proof, her door out. Outside, a familiar voice cut through the quiet morning. "Morning, sweetheart." Elena turned to see Mrs. Ramirez, 60, her neighbor of nearly 2 decades. Warm, nosy, protective, the kind of woman who brought casseroles when you had a bad day and scolded you for not eating enough. "Another letter from those attorneys?" "Mrs. Ramirez called from across the white fence. Elena forced a tired smile. "Probably just about the will or funeral. I'll open it later." She didn't know that later would come too late. "Miss S." Ramirez narrowed her eyes. "You look pale, Mija. You sure you're okay?" "I'm fine," Elena lied. Just tired. The twins keep me up. Inside, the air felt heavy, too quiet, too cold. Then the front door swung open. Her husband, Marcus Hale, 33, walked in, 6 feet tall, handsome in a polished way, always dressed like a man trying to climb a corporate ladder. But he walked with a stiffness, now a coldness, like he carried a secret he didn't want her to notice. Marcus didn't say hello, didn't kiss her forehead, didn't ask about the babies. He scanned the living room with narrowed eyes. "You're spending too much," he muttered. "We can't afford twins. No warmth, no kindness, just pressure." That was the third warning. "I only bought diapers and formula," Elena said quietly. "They were on sale. We'll need them soon." Marcus didn't care. He walked right past her, missing the certified envelope on the table, the one that held the truth he desperately needed to know. A truth worth more than $2 billion. He opened the fridge, slammed it shut, and grabbed his car keys. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown caller. Dallas, TX. She silenced it with one trembling thumb. Then it happened. A sharp ding from Marcus's phone. The screen lit up before he could hide it. Clara. Did you tell her? Clara. A woman's name. Not his sister. Not a coworker Elena knew. Not anyone who should be texting him that. Elena's heart stopped. Marcus quickly flipped the phone face down, jaw tense. "It's nothing," he snapped. "Don't start." But it wasn't nothing, and he knew it, and she knew it. A new question burned in her mind. Tell her what? Marcus stormed into the bedroom, leaving her alone at the table staring at the unopened envelope, the missed calls from Dallas, and a growing fear she wasn't ready to face. She rubbed her belly gently. "It's okay," she whispered. "Mommy will keep you safe." But she didn't know the betrayal was already in motion. She didn't know her husband had already made a cruel decision. She didn't know the envelope on the table would change her life forever. And she definitely didn't know she had just inherited an empire. The reversal wasn't coming. It was already sitting on her kitchen table, inside that unopened letter. Marcus Hale slammed the front door so hard the walls shook. "I'm late," he barked, grabbing his jacket without looking at Elena. "Don't wait up." Instant intensity. No good morning, no kiss, no check on her or the unborn twins, just coldness. Before she could answer, he was gone, speeding down their quiet Austin street as if escaping a life he didn't want anymore. That was the first crack. Small, but enough to make a loyal wife feel trapped in her own home. Elena stood in the hallway, 8 months pregnant, breathing through the sting in her chest. She pressed a hand against her belly. "It's okay," she whispered. "Mommy's still here." The twins kicked softly, as if they felt something was wrong. She moved slowly through the house, picking up baby gifts and folded onesies, trying to distract her mind. She craved normal, routine, anything that felt safe. When she reached the kitchen counter, she saw something that didn't belong. A receipt. A crisp, fancy receipt from Ridgeview Steakhouse, one of the most expensive restaurants in Austin. A place Marcus always said they couldn't afford. She looked closer. Dinner for 2. Shared dessert. A bottle of wine. Marcus didn't drink wine. Elena couldn't drink at all. Her throat tightened. Another crack. Her phone buzzed again. Missed call. Hale and Whitman Law Group. She stared at the screen, then flipped it over. "Not today," she whispered. "I can't do lawyers and a suspicious husband in the same morning." She wanted to tell herself it was a business dinner, a work thing, a client. But the truth crawled under her skin. Something was wrong. Very wrong. That was his fatal mistake, the storyteller whispers. To calm herself, Elena grabbed her phone and tapped a familiar name. Lila. Her best friend since college, 28, bold, protective, the type who could smell trouble before anyone else. Lila picked up on the first ring. "Okay, your voice sounds off. Talk." "I found a restaurant receipt," Elena said, trying to sound casual and failing. "Ridgeview, 2 guests, wine." Silence. "Have you asked him?" Lila asked. "No, I don't want to accuse him for nothing. Maybe it was work." That's what every woman says before the storm hits. Lila replied softly. The words pierced her chest. Elena forced a laugh, pretending everything was fine, but even Lila could hear the fear. He's changed, Elena whispered. Since the promotion talk fell through, since Aunt Margaret's funeral, since everything. He had no idea what was coming, the storyteller adds. Marcus stepped off the elevator into the sleek, glassy offices of Harlan Financial Group, where he worked as a mid-level project analyst. On the outside, he looked confident. On the inside, he was drowning. His co-worker, Daniel, 35 and blunt, cornered him near the break room. We need to talk, Daniel said. About what? Marcus snapped. About Clara. Marcus stiffened. He glanced around, lowering his voice. Keep your voice down. Daniel shook his head. You're playing with fire, man. Elena's at home, 8 months pregnant, and you're... Don't say it, Marcus growled. But Daniel didn't stop. Clara is bad news, Marcus. This ends ugly. It always does. Another crack. Deeper this time. Marcus sat across from a bank officer, hands shaking. Denied. A week later, his boss leaned across a polished desk. You're plateauing. You want a promotion? Perform like it. That evening, he stood outside the building, shoulders sagging, when Clara, the new intern, stepped up beside him. Her voice soft. Her smile sharp. You deserve better than going home to a stressed wife and baby bills, she whispered. You should be with someone who understands you. In that moment, a weak man made a dangerous choice. Clara fed him a fantasy, the storyteller says, and Marcus believed it. She carried the restaurant receipt upstairs to the laundry room, telling herself maybe she was overthinking. Maybe pregnancy hormones were making her sensitive. She opened Marcus's hamper to wash his clothes, then she froze. His white dress shirt, the one he wore the night of the steakhouse receipt, had a bright red lipstick stain along the collar. Red, shiny. Not hers. Elena's heart split open. This wasn't a crack anymore. This was a fracture. She lifted the collar with trembling fingers. Oh God. Marcus. Tears blurred her vision. Her breathing turned shallow. A tight squeeze arched across her belly. A mild contraction. Not now, she whispered. Please, not now. The twins shifted inside her as if reacting to her pain. She wiped her face and called Lila again. Lila, there's lipstick on his shirt. Long silence. Elena, Lila said quietly. Something's going on. You need to find out fast. And if your contractions get stronger, you call your doctor immediately. Promise me. Elena nodded, even though Lila couldn't see her. She didn't know the lipstick wasn't the last sign. She didn't know the next discovery would shatter whatever was left of her trust. She thought she'd found the worst part of the secret. Steam fogged the bathroom mirror as Marcus stepped out with a towel around his waist. I'm heading out in 10, he shouted, moving quickly, like a man on a schedule he couldn't explain. Instant intensity. Instant pressure. Elena stood near the dresser, folding a tiny baby onesie with shaking hands. Her chest felt tight. Her mind was a mess: lipstick, the expensive dinner, secretive texts. But she still tried to breathe. Still tried to believe he wasn't cruel. Still tried to hold on to hope. That was her mistake. Then it happened. Marcus's phone buzzed on the nightstand. A sharp, distinct buzz. A message. Elena didn't plan to touch it. She didn't want to be that wife. But something deep inside, an instinct that had been whispering for weeks, rose up. Her hand moved before her brain could stop it. She picked up the phone. The preview lit up. Clara. Once she's out of the house, we'll start our real life. I'm ready when you are. Her breath shattered. Her knees almost gave out. Her heart felt like it cracked open. This wasn't suspicion anymore. This was truth. Cold, ugly, undeniable. That was his fatal mistake, the storyteller whispers. For months she had trusted him, defended him, made excuses for him. That trust died in one sentence, one message, one woman's name. Marcus held her hands, eyes glossy with tears. I choose you, only you, forever. He kissed her with fire. He slipped the ring on her finger with shaking hands. She believed every word. She didn't know he was a man who could break promises as easily as he made them. Back in the bedroom, tears dripped onto Marcus's phone screen. A stronger contraction squeezed her abdomen. Real pain. Too early. She placed a hand on her belly. Not now. Please. Not now. The twins kicked hard, reacting to her stress. Marcus stepped out of the closet, now dressed in a crisp shirt and polished shoes. The same look he wore on nights he came home late and smelled of cologne she didn't own. He didn't notice her face. Didn't see the phone in her hand. Didn't notice her shaking shoulders. "I'll be home late," he said, picking up his keys. He moved toward the door. "Marcus," she forced out, voice raw. "Who is Clara?" He froze for half a second, then didn't turn around. "Don't start," he muttered. "She's just from work." She almost showed him the message, almost screamed, almost threw the phone at him. Instead, she whispered, "I saw what she texted you." He snatched the phone from her hand, looked at the screen, and locked it instantly. "She's just dramatic. Don't read my messages." He walked out of the bedroom and headed for the front door. Elena followed him, heart pounding, contractions rolling in uneven waves. "Marcus, please, I'm having pains, and you're talking about a real life with someone else?" He opened the door. The late Texas sun burned orange across the street. "Call your doctor if you're so worried," he said flatly. "I have a meeting." He left. The door closed. The house fell silent. She stood there, breathing hard, trying to steady herself. After a minute, she did what he should have helped her do. She called her OB's office. A nurse answered, calm and professional. "Describe the pain for me, Elena." "They're like cramps. They come and go. My husband just left and I'm really stressed." "Drink water, lie on your left side, and time them," the nurse said. "If they get consistent or closer together, you come in. Stress can cause false labor, but if anything feels wrong, you go to the hospital. Don't wait for him." Elena nodded, tears falling. "Okay. Thank you." She lay down, breathing slowly. Over the next hour, the contractions eased. The baby settled. The false alarm faded. By evening, she felt drained, but more stable. She walked to the front window just as headlights flashed on the street. Marcus's car, and behind it, a small silver car. Her heart sprinted. She watched through a crack in the curtains. Marcus stepped out of his car. Clara stepped out of the silver one. 29, stylish, confident, the kind of woman who believed the world owed her something. Clara walked straight to him. He didn't hesitate. He kissed her. Not a confused kiss. Not a momentary lapse. A deep, hungry kiss. The kind of kiss a man gives when he's already chosen another life. On the street, in broad daylight, in front of the house where his pregnant wife stood watching. She would never be the same woman again, the storyteller murmurs. A new contraction hit sharper, twisting. She clutched her belly, backing away from the window. She didn't scream, didn't run outside, didn't confront them. She didn't have the strength. All she could whisper was the same trembling line. "Not now. Please. Not now." She had seen the truth, but she had no idea he was about to deny everything and make her feel even more alone. The kiss broke her heart. Marcus Hale stormed into the house first. "What were you doing spying at the window yesterday?" He snapped, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frames on the wall. Instant intensity, no space to breathe, no room for truth. Elena stood in the entryway, one hand on the wall, the other on her belly. She'd barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that kiss. "I saw you," she whispered. Marcus turned sharply. "Saw me what?" "I saw you with Clara. On the street. You kissed her." Silence. Thick. Dangerous. Marcus stepped closer, towering over her. "You're imagining things," he said. "You're 8 months pregnant, Elena. You're emotional, hormonal. You don't even remember things correctly anymore." Her heart dropped. "Even now," he lied. "I know what I saw," she said, voice trembling. She got out of her car. "You went to her. You." He cut her off, raising his voice. "You're paranoid. I talked to her about work. That's it. You're turning it into something else. Gaslighting. Cruel. Calculated. That was his fatal mistake, the storyteller whispers. Her stomach tightened again, mild, but enough to remind her how fragile she was. Marcus pulled out his phone so fast it almost slipped. "If I call Clara right now, she'll tell you nothing happened," he said. "Do it," Elena whispered. His eyes flickered. Just for a second. Then he put the phone on speaker and dialed. It rang once, twice. Then Clara's voice filled the room, honey sweet. "Hey, baby." Clara stopped, corrected herself. "Hey, Marcus." Elena's stomach twisted. "Clara," Marcus said loudly. "My wife thinks something happened between us yesterday. Tell her she's overreacting." Elena squeezed her eyes shut. Clara didn't miss a beat. "Oh no," Clara said smoothly. "We just talked about that presentation, remember?" "Elena, sweetie, I'm so sorry you're stressed. Pregnancy can make everything feel bigger." Elena felt her knees weaken. Her certainty wobbled. "You see," Marcus said, ending the call quickly. "You're blowing things out of proportion." He stepped closer again, voice low and sharp. "You need to calm down. You're going to make yourself sick. And then what? You want our babies to suffer because you can't control your imagination?" She stared at him, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Marcus, I found the restaurant receipt, the lipstick, the texts. This isn't in my head." "No," he shot back. "You're just looking for drama. You always do this when you feel insecure." He brushed past her toward the kitchen, grabbed his keys again like he was done with the conversation. He wasn't done. He just didn't care. She would never be the same woman again, the storyteller murmurs. Elena tried to catch her breath. The room spun slightly. She leaned against the wall. Then Marcus's phone buzzed again on the counter. A bank alert. The screen lit up bright enough for her to read it clearly. $4,000 transfer completed to Clara Jennings. Her lungs froze. Her heart stuttered. Her world cracked open. Marcus saw where she was looking. He lunged forward, snatching the phone. "That's not what you think," he started. "You sent her money," Elena said softly. "Thousands of dollars, while we're behind on bills." She didn't scream, didn't throw anything, didn't threaten him. She just went quiet, dangerously quiet. The kind of quiet that comes after a heart breaks clean in half. She walked away and shut herself in the nursery. Inside, she placed her shaking hands on the twin cribs, still empty but waiting. She cried into the silence, deep, painful sobs that shook her entire body. Her tears dripped onto the soft baby blankets. "Why would he do this?" she whispered. "Why now?" Her eyes drifted across the room, to the dresser, to the unopened envelope from Hale and Whitman Law Group she had carried upstairs earlier to deal with later. It stared back at her like a silent answer. She still, and refused to open. She didn't know it held power. She didn't know it held justice. She didn't know it held her escape. She only knew her life was slipping away. She thought she was losing everything, but that sealed envelope was about to flip her world. Elena Hale's scream tore through the quiet Austin night. "Marcus, something's wrong. The babies." Instant intensity, instant fear, instant danger. She clutched her belly, stumbling against the hallway wall. A sharp, twisting pain shot through her lower abdomen, stronger and closer together than anything before. Her water broke, splashing onto the hardwood floor. This time, it wasn't false labor. This was real. Marcus stood at the edge of the living room, phone in hand, half-packed overnight bag on the couch. His face went pale for a heartbeat, then annoyed, like she'd picked the worst possible moment. "Now? Seriously?" he muttered. Not concern, not fear, just frustration. That was his fatal mistake. But he grabbed his keys anyway, helped her clumsily into the car, and sped toward Street, David's medical center in downtown Austin, driving like a man racing a clock, not fighting for lives he loved. Elena cried through the contractions, gripping the bed rails. Nurses moved quickly. A doctor checked her progress, voice steady but urgent. "She's preterm, but the twins are tolerating labor," the doctor said. "We're going to monitor closely. Elena, you're doing great. Just breathe for the babies." She should have had Marcus's hand in hers. She should have had someone telling her she wasn't alone. Instead, Marcus paced near the door, checking his phone, stepping out for calls, sighing loudly when nurses asked him to put it away. When the twins finally came, two tiny cries filling the room, Elena sobbed with relief. Two baby boys, small but breathing, fragile but alive. The nurses placed them on her chest one by one. She kissed their damp hair, whispering, "I'm here. Mommy's here." For a few minutes, the world felt quiet and holy. Marcus barely glanced at them. He had no idea what was coming, the storyteller whispers. There was a brief scare. Her bleeding didn't stop as fast as it should have. Nurses worked quickly. The doctor raised his voice, then relaxed when the bleeding slowed. "We're okay now," he told her. "You scared us for a moment, but you're stable. We'll keep you and the babies for observation." 36 hours later, late afternoon, discharge day came faster than she expected. The twins had passed all their newborn checks. They were small but healthy enough to go home with close follow-up. "Are you sure you have support at home?" a nurse asked gently as she wheeled Elena toward the exit. "My husband's there," Elena said, forcing a nod. Marcus walked ahead, pushing the car seat. Impatient. In the car, both boys were strapped into their own small carriers in the back seat. Elena twisted carefully to lay a hand on each tiny chest as Marcus drove them toward their North Austin driveway. The sky was dark, clouds heavy with rain. She was exhausted. Her body ached. Her stitches burned. But her heart still tried to hold onto a tiny scrap of hope. "I can fix this," she whispered to herself. "He's stressed. He's confused. We can fix it." Deep down, dread answered her. Marcus parked but didn't turn off the engine right away. "Elena," he said. She tightened her hold on the babies. "What is it?" He stared straight ahead, hands on the steering wheel. "I don't love you anymore." Her entire world dropped out from under her. "Marcus, we just had the babies," she whispered. "You don't mean that." He finally turned to her. "I'm leaving," he said flatly. "Clara and I already have a place, a plan, a life." Clara. Her name cut deeper than any contraction. "Please," Elena begged, tears spilling. "At least wait until I heal, until the babies are older. We can go to counseling." He opened her door. "Stay here," he said. Then he did the unthinkable. He lifted her gently but not lovingly from the car, set her on the front porch with the infant carriers beside her, and stepped back. Her legs trembled, her stitches pulled. The babies wailed in the humid air. "Marcus, don't do this," she sobbed. "I just gave birth. I can barely stand. Nothing. Please, don't leave us out here. Still nothing." He walked to the front door, opened it, looked back, once expression blank, then said the words that destroyed her completely. "You're on your own." He stepped inside and locked the door. Locked. The mother of his newborn twins. Outside, in the dark. This wasn't a mistake. This was cruelty. This was abandonment. She would never be the same woman again. Across the street, Mrs. Ramirez, in her robe, glasses low on her nose, stepped out onto her porch, drawn by the headlights and raised voices. When she saw Elena struggling to stay upright with two crying infants, she grabbed her phone. She hit record. Every word, every action, every cruel second. Evidence, truth, justice. A video that would later burn Marcus's life to the ground. Thunder cracked overhead. Rain finally broke, slamming down in sheets. Elena sank to the cold concrete, soaked, shaking, holding the twins close to her chest. She cried for help. She cried for strength. She thought she was completely alone. A pair of headlights cut through the storm. A black SUV slowed in front of her house, then stopped. She squinted through the rain, heart thudding. She had no idea that the man stepping out of that SUV was there because of the letter she never opened and the law firm that refused to give up on finding her. She thought she'd been abandoned for good, but the stranger walking toward her would change everything. Rain hammered the porch as a tall man in a black suit rushed toward Elena. "Mrs. Hale?" he called out, voice firm, urgent. "Are you Elena Hale?" Instant intensity, instant danger, instant mystery. Elena looked up through the rain, vision blurry from tears and exhaustion. She clutched her newborn twins in their small hospital carriers, her body still weak from labor. I don't know you, she whispered. Her teeth chattered. The man stopped a few feet away, hands raised to show he meant no harm. His dark hair was slicked back, now soaked. A leather briefcase hung from his shoulder, shielded under his coat. My name is Thomas Vaughn, he said. I'm an attorney with Hale & Whitman Law Group in Dallas. I've been trying to reach you for the last 2 weeks. Attorney, her heart stuttered. One door had just slammed in her face. This one was opening. That was Marcus's fatal mistake, the storyteller whispers. Elena tried to straighten, but her muscles trembled. Why are you here? She asked weakly. How did you even find me? Vaughn knelt down beside her, ignoring the puddles soaking his expensive shoes. Your aunt, Margaret Hale, named you as her sole heir, he said gently. We called. We mailed documents. We went to your old Dallas address. When we still couldn't reach you, we checked hospitals for next of kin records. We saw you just delivered here in Austin and were discharged this afternoon. He glanced at the locked door behind her, his jaw tightening. When you didn't answer your phone, I drove straight to this address, he finished quietly. I didn't expect to find you like this. Elena's breath hitched. Aunt Margaret? She left? Something? Vaughn opened his waterproof folder. Inside were printed copies of legal documents, signatures, seals, valuation sheets. Mrs. Hale, he said, meeting her eyes, you are now the owner of Hale Industries, your aunt's entire estate. All of it. The words floated over her like something from another life. Owner. Estate. Hale Industries. That can't be right, she whispered. I didn't even open the letter you sent. It's inside. That letter was your copy, Vaughn said gently. The originals are already filed. This, he tapped the documents, was true even before tonight, before he left you. The twins whimpered in their carriers, scared by the thunder. Elena looked down at them, cradling the handles closer. I can't stay out here, she choked. I just left the hospital. I can barely stand. Vaughn nodded immediately. We're not leaving you here, he said. I want you and the babies checked again, but it's not safe to sit in this storm. I have a car. We own a secure penthouse in Hale Tower downtown. Your aunt kept it for family visits and emergencies. It's yours now. He stood and moved carefully, lifting each carrier with steady hands. Let me help, he said softly. I'll buckle them in myself. For a brief second, Elena hesitated. She'd just been betrayed by the man who was supposed to protect her. Trust was broken. But this stranger had come for her when no one else did. He knew her aunt, he knew her name, he knew about the envelope, and she had nowhere else to go. She nodded once. Vaughn helped her to her feet, one arm around her, guiding her carefully down the steps. The rain soaked them both, but under his umbrella, she felt the first hint of safety. As they walked to the SUV, Elena looked back at the house, at the locked door, at the porch where her heart had shattered. She didn't know it yet, the storyteller murmurs, but she was walking away from that version of herself forever. Vaughn secured the carriers in the back seat and made sure their straps were tight. He opened the passenger door and helped Elena in slowly, mindful of her stitches. You need rest. And a doctor on call. We'll arrange both, he said. He climbed behind the wheel, started the engine, and pulled away from the curb. Behind them, the house grew smaller in the rain. Ahead, the city lights of Austin glowed like a new world. She didn't fully understand the numbers. She didn't understand the power. She only knew one thing. She wasn't powerless anymore. She thought the night had taken everything, but it was carrying her straight into the empire she never knew was hers. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime. Elena, welcome, Attorney Vaughn said, stepping aside. Instant intensity, instant contrast, instant shift in power. Elena stepped slowly into the penthouse of Hale Tower, still in the loose hospital clothes the nurses had sent her home in. Her hospital bracelet still circled her wrist. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Austin's skyline glowing in early light. A quiet that felt expensive and safe. She cradled one twin against her chest, while the other slept in a bassinet the staff had rushed up from storage overnight. Vaughn's assistants had moved fast fresh linens, stocked fridge, crib assembled in hours. Her body still ached, but for the first time since the pregnancy turned heavy and painful, she didn't feel trapped. She would never be the same woman again. Vaughn guided her to a soft gray sofa. "Sit, please. We'll keep this simple," he said. "You need rest as much as answers." A gentle knock at the door. A tall man in his late 40s stepped in, broad shoulders, calm eyes, simple black shirt, the quiet weight of someone used to watching people closely. "Elena," Vaughn said, "this is Detective Eric Soren, private investigator. Your aunt hired him years ago to look into people who tried to use her name, her company, or her family." Soren gave her a respectful nod. "Mrs. Hale, I'm here to protect you and your sons, and to make sure what happened to your aunt's money never happens to you. Instant safety, instant hope." He set a laptop and a folder on the glass coffee table. Not long after, another person joined them, a woman in her late 50s, with gray curls, warm eyes, and a professional grace. "Elena," Vaughn said softly, "this is Joanna Wells, your aunt's estate manager. She helped run Margaret's personal affairs for 15 years. Joanna's eyes filled when she saw Elena. "Your aunt talked about you all the time," Joanna said. "She wanted you to have everything she never did: safety, choice, respect." Elena swallowed hard. Tears slipped down. I thought she just tolerated me," she whispered. "She was always so busy." Joanna shook her head. "She was busy building this for you." She handed Elena a small bundle of letters, each in Margaret's neat handwriting. "If you're reading this, it means the world has shifted around you. Don't let anyone make you feel small. You are allowed to walk away from anyone who mistakes your kindness for weakness." Elena cried quietly, careful not to wake the baby on her chest. "That was her real inheritance," the storyteller murmurs. Vaughn slid several legal documents in front of her and spoke in plain English. "This is what we recommend," he said. He pointed to each document: emergency protective order against Marcus, petition for full custody of the twins, formal divorce petition, request to freeze joint accounts so he couldn't drain them, fraud report tied to suspicious loans and transfers. "No legal jargon," Vaughn said. "Just this: we're cutting his access to you, your babies, and your money." Elena's hand trembled, but not from fear. From the weight of finally having options. Soren opened his laptop and turned it toward her. "We already started collecting evidence," he said. "Your aunt asked me months ago to quietly monitor anyone who might use her name. Once she got sick, she added another request: watch out for you." File by file, he showed her. Screenshots of Marcus and Clara's messages pulled from a backup when Marcus synced his work phone, not realizing IT logs everything. Photos of Marcus and Clara at Ridgeview Steakhouse, date and timestamp, matching the receipt she found. Bank records showing repeated transfers from Marcus to Clara. Then Soren placed one more document on the table, a photocopy of a loan agreement, her name at the top, her signature at the bottom. "I never signed anything like this," Elena breathed. "I know," Soren said. "A handwriting expert compared this to your real signature from your marriage license and hospital forms. This one shows clear signs of forgery." "Marcus," she whispered. "He used my name." $15,000, Soren said. "In your name, without your consent. That's not just betrayal, it's a crime." Silence fell over the room. Outside, the city kept moving: cars, meetings, normal life. Inside, everything had changed. Vaughn gathered the documents she'd already initialed. "We'll file these today," he said. "An emergency hearing in family court should be scheduled within a couple of weeks. With this evidence, Marcus doesn't have a strong case." Elena wiped her cheeks and picked up the pen. Her hand no longer shook. One signature, then another, then another. She was no longer the woman Marcus could break. When she finished, Vaughn stood. "Get some sleep," he said gently. "Take care of the twins. Let us do the heavy lifting for a while." Soren cleared his throat. "Mrs. Hale, with your permission, we'll also secure the original video from Mrs. Ramirez," he said. "We'll give it to the court, and if you agree, To a reporter we trust. Your story could protect other women. Elena hesitated, then nodded. If it helps someone else, do it. As he left with Soren and Joanna, Elena sat back, listening to her baby's soft breaths. She didn't know it yet, but tomorrow, the first spark of her story would slip onto the internet. Soren cleared his throat. Mrs. Hale, with your permission, we'll also secure the original video from Mrs. Ramirez, he said. We'll give it to the court and, if you agree, to a reporter we trust. Your story could protect other women. Elena hesitated, then nodded. If it helps someone else, do it. And within days, the whole city would know what Marcus did. Justice wasn't just coming, it was already on its way to a courtroom with his name on the docket. The courtroom doors opened with a soft creak. Elena stepped inside slowly, wearing a simple blouse and loose black pants that didn't press on her healing body. Her twins were 2 weeks old now, sleeping in a stroller with Lila just outside the courtroom doors. Attorney Vaughn walked beside her, a calm, steady presence. On the other side of the room, Marcus Hale sat at a table with a cheap local lawyer. He wore his best suit, jaw clenched, eyes tired from nights that didn't go his way. Instant intensity, instant confrontation. He still believed he could spin this, still believed he could paint himself as the victim. That was his fatal mistake, the storyteller whispers. The bailiff called, "All rise." Judge Linwood, mid-50 seconds, firm and fair, took her seat. "You may be seated," she said. "We are here on emergency motions in the matter of Elena Hale and Marcus Hale regarding temporary custody and protective orders." Marcus's attorney stood first. "Your Honor, my client claims his wife left the marital home without warning," he began. "He simply wants access to his children and fair financial support until their situation is resolved." Judge Linwood looked unimpressed. "Mr. Hale is requesting temporary spousal support?" "Yes, Your Honor," the lawyer said. "Mrs. Hale has recently come into an inheritance which she did not disclose to him." Marcus smirked slightly. There it was his angle. She had money, he did not. Judge Linwood turned to Vaughn. "Response?" Vaughn rose calmly. "Your Honor, we oppose his request on every level," he said. "We will show abandonment, infidelity, financial abuse, and fraud by Mr. Hale. We will also show clear evidence that Mrs. Hale was the one left at the marital home, not the other way around." Marcus scoffed loudly. "That's not what happened. Mr. Hale," Judge Linwood warned, "you will speak through your attorney." Vaughn nodded to the clerk. "If we may, Your Honor, we'd like to begin with Exhibit A." The lights dimmed slightly as a screen flickered to life on the side wall. The video started. Mrs. Ramirez's recording. Marcus's voice echoed through the courtroom. "I don't love you anymore. Clara and I are leaving. Stay here." The camera shook as Mrs. Ramirez zoomed in, Elena on the porch. 2 newborn carriers at her feet, rain starting to fall. Marcus turning his back, stepping inside. The door closing. The lock sliding into place. The twins' thin cries filled the speakers. A woman in the gallery covered her mouth. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Marcus went pale. That's taken out of context," he stammered. Judge Linwood's eyes sharpened. "How exactly is locking your bleeding, postpartum wife outside in the rain with newborn twins out of context, Mr. Hale?" He had no answer. "Exhibit B," Vaughn said calmly. "Screenshots of text messages between Mr. Hale and a woman named Clara Jennings. The screen showed Clara's words. 'Once she's out of the house, we'll start our real life.' Another message. 'Did you tell her yet?'" Elena stared at the table, not wanting to watch more but needing the judge to see it all. "Exhibit C," Vaughn continued. "Bank records showing multiple transfers from Mr. Hale to Clara Jennings, including one for $4,000 the day before the hospital discharge. The amounts appeared on the screen like bullet holes. "Exhibit D," Vaughn said. "A $15,000 personal loan taken out in Mrs. Hale's name with a forged signature. Our handwriting expert's report is attached." Detective Soren approached with a folder and handed it to the clerk, who passed it up to Judge Linwood. Gasps rippled through the room. Marcus's attorney tried to rally. Your Honor, this is a lot of emotionally charged material. My client insists this is exaggerated. He was under stress, and stress doesn't excuse fraud or abandonment, Judge Linwood said sharply. And it certainly doesn't excuse leaving a woman who just gave birth outside in a storm. She turned to Elena. Mrs. Hale, the judge said, voice softening. Do you wish to speak? Elena stood slowly. Her legs were steady. I don't want revenge, she said quietly. I want safety for my sons. He didn't come back to check on us. He didn't call the hospital. He didn't even make sure we went inside. I can't trust him with their lives. Her voice didn't shake. That was her power. Judge Linwood nodded once. Here's my ruling, she said. Temporary, full custody to Mrs. Hale. Emergency protective order granted. All joint accounts frozen, pending final property division. Mr. Hale's request for spousal support is denied. Marcus shot to his feet. You can't do this. Security moved closer. Sit down, Mr. Hale, Judge Linwood ordered. He glared at Elena. Elena, you can't take my kids, he shouted. She didn't look at him. She gathered her papers, nodded to Vaughn, and walked calmly toward the exit. She passed him without a flinch, without a pause. Justice wasn't loud. It was steady. He thought the courtroom was the worst of it, but the real public judgment was still waiting outside his office doors. Marcus Hale burst into the lobby of Harlan Financial Group like a man ready to argue with the universe. Instant intensity, instant desperation, instant collapse incoming. Whispers followed him as he crossed the polished floor. People glanced at their phones, then at him, then away again. That was his fatal mistake, the storyteller murmurs. He thought he could outwalk a storm already everywhere. He headed straight for the elevators. Marcus, wait, a familiar voice said. It was Daniel, his blunt coworker, standing near the security desk. You don't want to go up there, Daniel said quietly. Marcus snapped. I'm not in the mood for lectures. I just need to talk to Harlan, clear this up. Daniel didn't move. Instead, he pulled out his phone and held it up. A video was playing. Mrs. Ramirez's recording. The porch. The crying babies. The lock. Millions of views. Comments flooding the screen. Monster. Arrest him. How could anyone do this? Protect that mother at all costs. Marcus's voice echoed again from the tiny speaker. You're on your own. Marcus felt his insides turn to ice. Where did you get that? He choked. It's everywhere, Daniel said quietly. Local news, national segments, social media. People are calling you porch dad in the worst way imaginable. Marcus shook his head. This is her revenge. Elena's lawyer leaked this. Daniel didn't blink. Maybe. Or maybe the universe just stopped covering for you. The elevator dinged. 2 security guards stepped out. Marcus Hale? One asked. Marcus swallowed. Yeah? Mr. Harlan wants to see you. Bring your badge. They walked him upstairs, not to his office, but directly into the executive conference room. Mr. Harlan stood at the far end of the table, hands resting on a printed stack of papers. Sit, he said. Marcus sat. We've seen the video, Harlan said. We've reviewed the fraud notice from your wife's attorney. We've confirmed the forged loan in her name. Marcus opened his mouth. Please, you have to understand my marriage was falling apart. Save it. Harlan cut him off. This company will not be associated with a man who abandons his newborns and forges signatures. You are terminated, effective immediately. Terminated. The word rang in his ears. No, Marcus whispered. I need this job. I need income to fix this. HR will send your final paperwork, Harlan said. Security will escort you out. It was over. No job, no respect, no more safety net. She would never be the same woman again, the storyteller whispers, but this time, it's Marcus who will never recover. Outside the building, the real storm waited. Cameras, reporters, boom mics. Marcus, a reporter shouted. Marcus, is it true you left your wife and newborns outside in the rain? Another voice. Marcus, do you have any comment about the forged loan? He tried to push past them, covering his face. Then a sharper voice sliced through the noise. Mei Wu, a local reporter known for hard-hitting stories, stepped forward. Marcus, are you aware your ex is now confirmed as the sole owner of Hale Industries? She asked. Do you regret leaving the woman who just became a billionaire heiress? The air left his lungs. Owner of Hale Industries. Billionaire. He stumbled. Elena? He whispered. No, that's not. The reporters surged closer, shouting more questions. Then he heard a voice he recognized, for all the wrong reasons. Marcus. He turned. Clara stood near a sleek black car, sunglasses on, lips pressed in an annoyed line. She looked more irritated than heartbroken. Clara! Please, get me out of here, he shouted, stumbling toward her. They fired me. The judge. She took a small step back. I saw the news, she said, voice carrying just enough for the microphones to catch. You're broke, Marcus. No job, no money, no access to her inheritance. She gave a cold laugh. I'm not going down with you. She turned, slid into the car, and shut the door. He grabbed the handle. The driver locked it. The car pulled away from the curb, leaving him alone under a forest of cameras, humiliated, exposed, abandoned. Karma didn't walk. It ran. Hours later, he dragged himself back to the house in North Austin. The same porch, the same door, the same concrete where he'd left his wife and sons. He opened the door. Empty. No crib, no clothes, no pictures, just dust outlines where furniture once stood. Elena? He called weakly. Please. I'm sorry. No answer. She was gone. The babies were gone. His job was gone. His mistress was gone. And the life he thought he controlled? Gone. He had no idea what was coming, the storyteller whispers. Because far above him, in a tower with her name now on the door, Elena was just getting started. His fall was complete, and she was finally free to decide what came next. 6 months later, early morning in Hale Tower, the sunrise hit the glass of Hale Tower like fire. Instant intensity, instant rebirth, instant peace. Elena Hale stood on the penthouse balcony, wrapped in a soft cardigan, her twins, now chubby 6-month-olds, resting in her arms. The city below looked calmer in the morning light, like the world had finally stopped spinning out of control. She took a slow breath, a real one. The kind she hadn't been able to take when she was trapped in that old house. She would never be the same woman again, the storyteller whispers. Behind her, the sliding doors opened. Joanna stepped out with a folder. Elena, the documents you asked for are ready, she said, smiling. Elena shifted one twin to her hip and opened the folder on the balcony table. Inside were simple outlines, no complicated jargon, just bullet points and names. A housing program for single mothers leaving abusive or unstable homes. Scholarships and job training grants for parents starting over. Funding for domestic crisis shelters in Austin, Dallas, and beyond. A legal aid partnership with Hale and Whitman to provide free advice to abandoned spouses. These programs will take time, Joanna said, but our board has already approved the budgets. The first shelter could open by the end of the year. This is right, Elena said softly. If Aunt Margaret trusted me with this much, it can't just be for me. Joanna's eyes warmed. Your aunt would be proud. She built the empire. You're giving it a heart. That was her real inheritance. The storyteller murmurs. Not just money, but a mission. Elena signed the initiative documents with steady hands. Her future was not about Marcus, not about revenge, about rebuilding for herself and for women like her. Bright walls, gentle mobile. 2 cribs side by side. Lila stood by the changing table, hair in a messy bun, holding a bottle. Your sons are officially obsessed with 3A. M. Feedings, she joked. I hope your empire has a coffee budget. Elena smiled, placing one baby gently in his crib. I own the company, she said. I'll put coffee as a line item. Lila hugged her. You did it, Lila whispered. He tried to break you, but you built something instead. Elena shook her head. No, she said. I survived. Then I decided what to do with the survival. A simple sentence, carrying months of pain and a lifetime of strength. Little Elena lay in a small bed, eyes wide after a nightmare. Aunt Margaret sat beside her, brushing her hair. "Life will not always be kind," Margaret said quietly. "But you, my girl, you will rise. And when you do, you'll understand why the storms came." She tucked the blanket under Elena's chin. "Strength isn't loud," she whispered. "It's chosen." The memory faded. Back in the present, Elena stood between the cribs, tucking the twins under soft blankets, the same gentle way Aunt Margaret once tucked her in. "You're safe now," she whispered. "And I will make sure you stay safe, no matter what." Tiny hands curled around her finger. She felt love swell up deep, fierce, unbreakable. The storm was behind her. Justice had been served in court and online. Marcus was under fraud investigation and living with the consequences of his own choices. Her life, finally, was her own. Elena walked back to the balcony. The city glowed gold. Traffic hummed faintly below. The skyline stretched like an open road. Sunrise washed over her face. A symbol of rebirth. A promise of tomorrow. Proof that even after the darkest night, morning still comes. She whispered to herself, "This is my life now, and no one will ever take it from me again." The camera slowly pulled back. The woman, the twins, the sunrise, the tower with her name attached to its empire. A survivor, a mother, a woman who turned pain into purpose. I hope you enjoyed watching this story as much as I enjoyed bringing it to life. Like, share, and comment on the lessons you learn from Elena's journey. Tell me where you're watching from in the comments below. See you in my next video.